Everyone's attention. We'll wrap up our morning media availability here at Phoenix International Raceway. We now welcome our points leader, Jimmie Johnson, driver of the number 48 Lowe's Cobalt Tools Chevrolet. Jimmie, obviously coming into Phoenix, 2 to go with being in the points lead. 6 wins this season, 4 wins here at Phoenix. Just talk a little bit about how you're feeling right now with 2 to go.
Eager to get on the track and see where we are, see how our car's handling, and excited to be at the racetrack. And when you're sitting there Monday through Thursday, thinking about a race, thinking about how your setup's going to be, those are the hardest days, and I'm excited to be here at the racetrack and get out there and turn some laps.
Okay, we'll take questions for Jimmie. Please raise your hand. We'll try to get everybody. We'll start up front with Lee.
Lee Spencer, Fox Sports. When Keselowski was screwing around with you in practice here last year, what went through your mind initially?
I don't even remember that. What did he do?
Well, just when he was, trying to get up on your back bumper and that kind of crazy stuff in practice.
I don't remember it, but Matt and I in practice this year have been out there and just really evaluating ourselves against one another to see what the other has. So it's not uncommon, and I'm sure that's what he's doing. And if you're the guy that can overtake, or I guess Brad was trying to overtake me, there's always a little message in that and a little smile on your team if you're showing a little speed at that point. So I'm sure there was probably a little something in it, but it's not uncommon.
But you don't anticipate that from Kenseth, do you, given his, demeanor and your relationship?
Well, I mean, we've been sizing each other up pretty good each week. We roll out, right near each other in practice each time. In Texas, I think I was catching him. He let me by, got him behind to take a look at my stuff where I was. So it's, I can't remember the exact mindset last year and what kind of led to it, but the end result I don't think is all that uncommon. Just size yourself up.
Okay, we'll take our next question in the middle from Alan, then go Claire, Marty, Brian, Stan.
Alan Cavano, NASCAR.com. In this chase, Matt has beat you at New Hampshire, Charlotte, and Martinsville. Does that give you any pause heading to another track here in Phoenix where the numbers would say you have an advantage?
I don't know if the numbers mean much, especially in championship battles. You look at Martinsville where the numbers skewed my way, and Matt came out with points, and then here, we've had some good success. But I can't rely on that. It's all in the past. They're great stats. They're great to reference, but the past is the past, and it's all about today and this weekend. And I think, especially when you look at the 20 car, and there's Matt in general, now that he's in the 20 car, you can't look on stats from the 17. I mean, I think that there's been quite a big improvement on a lot of racetracks for him.
Okay, we'll go Claire, Marty, Brian, Stan.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. I was talking to Chad, and he told me when I asked him about whether you do any more to dot the I's and cross the T's and all of that, he kind of went into this thing which made a lot of sense, that if you do more now, you interrupt the rhythm and you kind of can throw yourself off because your team is so solid kind of moving ahead. Is there anything that you do, more intensely, think more, prepare more this time of the chase than you do the rest of the season?
No, not really at all. There's systems that are in place, and your systems are what lead you to a playoff berth and get you in the chase, and then your systems keep you competitive in the chase. So there's a bit more pressure, and I'm sure everybody is focused, thinking about things a little bit more. It's hard to say focused, but sure, there's a little more thought in there at times, a little more emotion. But what we do is what we do, and that's what led us to where we are on the points, and we're not going to change anything there.
And Matt was in here earlier, and we were asking him questions, obviously, and he was talking about how he thinks he's more mechanical, and you're on the more psychological side, meaning if his car is good, he might win the race. He's not thinking it through. He's just coming to the race every weekend. Whether you can do that or not, I don't know. Do you believe that? You're distinct in that manner?
Yeah, I mean, I think Matt is, with his upbringing and all the years he spent in stock cars, much more mechanically inclined on the race car and understanding the particulars of the chassis and the vehicle dynamics and all that stuff. I didn't, my 5th year ever in the stock car was at the Cup level. So I had 2 years of ASA, 2 years of Nationwide, and then Cup. So I was pretty far behind, and I can remember being in Milwaukee with Howie Leto as my crew chief, just trying to understand what to do. And I didn't know what wedge was. So he literally took this little plastic table we had and cut one of the legs down, made it shorter, and said, okay, now this doesn't have any wedge in it. It's tipping over. And just had to go through all the basics and teach me the basics. So and Matt is much stronger, back to your question, in that area. And I agree. I'm probably more on the psychological side and making sure that I'm buttoned up, trying to create a good energy through the team and keep the guys up and things like that.
Okay, we'll take our next question from Marty, then go Brian, Stan, and Dave.
Marty Smith, ESPN. Johnson, contextually, in terms of you need me to spell out what that means?
Please.
All right, let me put this in remedial fashion. The way you're running versus your competition compared to the way you're running versus your competition last year, how does this 7-point advantage compare to that which you had last year?
I think we're, as far as the 48, we're in a very familiar spot, a very similar spot to last year. I can't remember each race off the top of my head, but competitive winning races to take the points lead, very, very similar. You know, we got to this point of the year last year and had an issue at this racetrack and then made mistakes at Homestead. So that's the area that we need to clean up and not repeat that aspect of history and make sure that we're focused on doing a great job here and on into Homestead.
Okay, we'll go Brian, Stan, Dave, and Lewis.
Motor Racing Network, Brian Nelson. So here at the end of the first year with the Gen 6 car, I think a year ago everybody's thinking, wow, Jimmie loves this, the old COT deal because of how much you won there. But this has really played out well for you as well. And the goal for, my understanding is the goal going forward with any tweaks to the car is going to be to help the second and third place cars in line. So how do you evaluate the Gen 6 car this year, and with that goal in mind of tweaking, what should be done?
There's a lot going on within the NASCAR offices and all the competition side, and then what takes place in the garage area and the race shops. And in December there's a big test session, and we'll know a lot more at that point as to the direction of the rules package and where it's going. But over the years I've learned to not stress about things. There's only so much I can contribute to in this decision-making process. When I'm asked questions about whatever NASCAR official it is, I'm more than willing to give my opinion and try to sound off and be a part of that process. But they've got to manage so many different angles, and now we're using a lot of data, and some of it's new data that they're using to make these decisions. So I'm just sitting back patiently awaiting where things go, but I always look at change as an opportunity, and the 48 has taken advantage of those opportunities over the years. So I don't care what package the car is. I'm very confident in my skills as a driver and what my team's capable of, what Hendrick Motorsports is capable of, and we'll race whatever they decide to come up with.
Okay, we'll go Stan, Dave, Lewis, and Tom.
Stan Creekmore with RPMTonight.com. If you set the championship aside, what are the challenges of the race on Sunday here for you?
I think the largest issue is track position. We haven't been able to really work in a second lane around here and create passing opportunities, and that's that means your strategy on pit road and the stops themselves are where the weight really lies. So if you back up another step from that, making sure that your car has what we saw a lot of two-tire stops, making sure your car is good on older tires is going to be important as race practice develops. And you're not going to want to be on pit road much or very long when it shakes out on Sunday.
Okay, we'll take our next question from Dave. Go ahead.
Dave Coleman, Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Jimmie, you talked about your different backgrounds between you and Matt, but can you kind of compare and contrast yourselves as far as personalities and on the racetrack, and also it seems like you guys have struck up a pretty decent friendship. Can you describe how that's happened?
Yeah, I think there are differences between us for sure, but I feel like we're both big picture thinkers, and inside the race car and understanding the flow of a race, the flow of the chase, the flow of a year. There's just a broader vision. Being patient in the car at different times, if it's racing someone in traffic or if mistakes made, to not let an issue there destroy your whole race. Again, more of a big picture thinker and how to work through issues and come out of the race with your best possible finish. And we look at Matt over the years with, I think the best example of it would be qualifying effort. You know, qualifying hasn't been Matt's strongest suit, but regardless of where he starts, when that checkered falls, he's there. You know, there's just a different kind of mindset, and I feel the 48's very much in that same line of thought. You know, we find a way to be there at the end of the race. Friendship, yeah, I mean, we've known each other for, gosh, a long time now, probably 15 years with Nationwide included, and just been able to get along, you know, from the beginning. There were a few bumpy episodes in the Nationwide series where I was a slow guy in the way, and he used me up a couple times, and I like to harass him about that and point that out to him. But we've had a great time, really, since his championship. I mean, when we got home, my wife and I drove over to his house and had a beer with him, and Katie and his team when he was in the 17 car, and I gotta say from that point forward, we've always had a strong friendship.
Okay, we'll take our next question up front from Lewis, then go to the back with Tom.
Jimmy, Lewis, Frank from Speed Week. You know, for lack of running facilities, we've seen you running around certain tracks. I was wondering, do you run up in the hills here any time, and do you bring anything for protection against rattlesnakes?
No, I don't get on the dirt around here unless I have motocross boots on. I spent too much time in these deserts to know what's sitting in the bushes. But yeah, I haven't been on any trails. I considered bringing my mountain bike out to ride, but I'll probably just hit the pavement on foot and on the road bike a little later on Saturday.
Take a question in the back from Tom.
Hi, Jimmy. Tom Jensen from FoxSports.com. The cars have changed so much here, presumably, since the first race. And you guys, you and Matt, have both done better at tracks, maybe where you haven't done as well in the past. Is there any way we can predict it all, or, you know, going into this weekend, what to expect, or is it all just pretty much a crapshoot at this point?
Yeah, I think it's a crapshoot. That's the way I've prepared myself mentally. You know, I look at Martinsville at a track that statistically showed to favor the 48, and it didn't points-wise when the checkered fell. And I'm using that to help keep my guard up. That I think he ran 8th or something here in the spring, which is a great finish, and we were second. So they're going to be strong. Is the bottom line, and we got to be prepared for that and do our best.
Okay, a couple more questions. We'll take Dustin, Reed, then Gluck.
Dustin Long, Motor Racing Network. I want to go back to something Brad talked about last night, and a little bit kind of what Lee was asking, but I want to go into more specifics. Brad was talking about kind of playing the games, pressuring during practice, and one thing he said was in this race last year, he said, you could look at it and say that was a tire failure or whatever. Those in the garage who know how the cars work know it was reaching too hard, and the failure that was caused was from that. That's group's weakness. And then he did also, I want to ask something about that, but he also went on to say, for them, I wouldn't want to have to race somebody that is going to race me hard, because that is not in their wheelhouse. And I think that was one of our strengths last year. So what I want to ask you first off is, he's kind of suggesting that he kind of, in a way, forced you guys into the blown tire last year by kind of whatever happened in practice and kind of how the weekend went. Do you buy that? And secondly, he's talking about to beat you guys, you run you hard, and apparently there's a line that you don't cross, or you can't cross. Can you respond to that, please?
I guess we need to ask Jeff Gordon, Mark Martin, Denny Hamlin. Who else have I raced for a championship? Carl Edwards. A lot of those guys, how we race. I mean, we race hard. That's not a weakness of ours by any stretch. Last year here, they were better than us, for sure. And we worked real hard to play catch-up through the course of the weekend. And sure, we had a tire failure, and yes, we overworked the tire. So we created an issue ourselves. We were lacking some speed. The two had us covered the entire time here. In that particular run where the tire blew, I look back on it and think, man, if I would have preserved my tire a little bit more and didn't overwork my equipment and didn't speed up that tire blowing and create that issue, we'd go to Homestead with a much smaller deficit and have a much better chance of racing. So that's the lesson I take from last race here, or last year's race here. So again, we love to race hard. That's what we're here to do. I know some want to say we've been to Homestead and didn't have to race for it, but you look at our last championship with, I think it was the last one with Denny, we had to come from behind and win down there, finish second and won the race. So racing's what I'm good at. I'm not the best at putting up the fastest lap, the best at qualifying, the best at topping the speed charts in practice, but I mean, look who passes cars on the racetrack. You know, I'm good at racing. That's my sweet spot.
Next question, go ahead, Reed, then we'll go to Gluck.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. Two quick ones. You guys and Gibbs both tested at Texas and Homestead. Neither one of the teams participated in the tire test here. Does that make this race more of an unknown for you? And secondly, if you approach all the races generally with the same mindset, how do you account for the fact that you win twice as frequently in the chase as in non-chase races?
I don't know how to answer that one. I think I'd be interested to see the chase tracks, what my percentage is in the spring. You know, when we go to a lot of these tracks, they've been good tracks to me. You know, I guess what I'm getting at is the chase tracks are just good tracks for us, and we went at them spring or fall. In my opinion, stats may show differently, but that's the first thing that comes to mind there. What's the other part? I'm sorry.
Tire test.
Oh, tire test. Yeah, we'd love to have been here and get some current data and be on the current tire. But when it gets to the end of the year, NASCAR and Goodyear is very selective of teams they bring. But from what I understand in the conversations we've had with Goodyear, not a ton different. Small change, I guess, to the left side. And I wish we could have been here, but just didn't get that chance.
Final question, Jeff, go ahead.
Jeff Gluck from USA Today. I have a Brad-related question, but on a different angle. You know, when he won the title, he stood up there and almost like a politician, you know, he's like, you know, I want to lead the sport and I want to, you know, change things and all this stuff. And it seemed like he was maybe met with some resistance, or he didn't kind of achieve the things that maybe he set out to do or thought he could do it from the Champions platform. For us that don't know what it's like to be champion, is it a lot harder than people might realize to use your voice and make changes? Was it unrealistic of him to think that, you know, he could make things happen just because he was champion?
Yeah, you know, there's definitely a learning lesson in it all, and I've been through it myself. And I guess to summarize it, looking back on it all, being the champion is an amazing thing, and it does change a lot. But it doesn't change the way you are viewed in the competition department of NASCAR. You're still a driver. You're still one of 43. Sure, you have the big trophy, but it doesn't change a lot there. What it does change is in here, and what happens out there with the fans, and people listen more. So you have an opportunity to speak your mind. You have an opportunity to say more and to be heard, and your voice carries a lot further. You know, that can be good and bad. And in all champions, especially first-time champions, go through trying to, you know, understand how to use that new power. It doesn't change a lot in the garage. It doesn't change a lot at the competition department of NASCAR, but, you know, the other areas it does.